Okay, so just real quick here, after finishing up the last tutorial where it ran short on time, I had to throw that ternary operator in very quickly, which if you wanted to, you could do that with an if-else structure, save it to a reference, and then pass the reference in. I was just trying to set it up so that I wanted to set it up so that everything happens in one line being passed out as it's being passed in, just passing one line at a time. So that's why I use ternary operators and list comprehensions. But that could you could just build the list separately or get a reference to that. That would work the same. But I went through and did some cleanup. For one, I don't know what I was thinking last night, but I corrected all the directories. A forward slash works fine on Windows, but remember, backslash is the one that you can count on working on any operating system. And since directories are always going to be strings, we actually need 2 backslashes. So I did go through and the escape sequence for backslashes. So I did go through and correct those. Then I added all the Doxygen comments into this to document it. I didn't bother documenting the getters and setters. That's hopefully obvious what those do. Might come back if I just need to do something to pass some time while thinking about things. But all the major methods I went ahead and got the Doxygen comments for. So we can run that real quick. Should be good to run. So we have all of that documented, but I'm not a huge fan of the style sheet, so I also do have a style sheet. I dug through, basically just hit F12 or right click to get to the inspector, went through the elements and got all of the class and ID names for everything that was on there. If I go to another page, something with more stuff on it. Went through and got all of the class and ID names. Well, not quite all of them yet, but quite a few. And started putting together a style sheet to replace the CSS with something I like a little bit better, though this one that I'm writing here is kind of like the games we've created, just the super stripped down version. A lot of it is just turning things off. There's a bunch of display none. I only had to do a little bit of typing, just very minimal typing in the CSS, but a bunch of turning things off that I didn't really care to receive. And then basically it just takes it back to default HTML at this point and has all the class names and IDs and things like that. Which an important thing if you're going to do that is make sure you work in a CSS file somewhere other than where it's being generated, because it will be replaced every time. So here's the one I've been working on. So I'll just copy that, paste that into this new one. And this actually has 2 style sheets. So one called Doxygen, so I'm just going to replace that one. And then one called Tabs, which is these navigation tabs up here. So I'll just delete that one and then reload the page. And just kind of have this set up. So the navigation on the left, all the other stuff on the right, and a whole bunch of things turned off. So main page, or we go to the classes, you can see all the classes in there. Well, namespace, the 3 main things that are finished so far, the objects, the writer, and the interface stuff. Kind of documented those. Or something we made last night. So like the stuff 2D, and here's the built-in diagrams, which I will probably use that one that I put together on draw.io eventually. And kind of stripped it down so that the documentation looks something like this. So like the render method, what to do, what's expected to be. So the design intentions were, like here, the design intentions were to be a ternary operator passed in as an argument. But you could also just do a big if-else structure, put that together, and get all that documentation together so that other people can use it. Just kind of a start, but basically a bunch of cleanup things since finishing that up rapidly last night. And then that one's kind of important. I don't know what I was thinking yesterday, but remember, whenever you're doing directories and files and all the directory paths, make sure in your code, make sure to use 2 backslashes, because that's the one will work on every system, not just the Windows system. That if you're used to using the /. But basically, just some cleanup. Nothing's really changed in the code since then. I just wanted to do a quick pass and mention the cleanup and send a reminder about documentation, because you don't want to let that get away from you. Right? Just in this first part here, there's quite a bit of documentation, and if you put that off to the end, it'll definitely get away from you and be overwhelming. And that part's boring. You don't want to get stuck at the end with only boring stuff to do after all the fun stuff's finished. So make sure you remember to work on documentation along the way. And yeah, I like to clean things up after every pass. When something works, I come back and clean it up. That way, it's not an overwhelming monumental task at the end to clean it up and document it. And I think then just have to dig through whichever generator you choose, documentation generators, dig through and find what it calls everything, because it's just HTML, and create a new style sheet for it. But basic cleanup work. So I guess now we're ready to put together the first draft of the 3D objects. So I will see you in the next video for that.